Hello, children. So, welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. All right, we're talking Michael Todd, Monster Michael Todd. He's pictured here on the left. I've pulled him a couple of times. First time was back in about 2003, 2004. I can't quite remember. We were both 198 at the time. He's since been quite the force at super heavyweight, usually in the 280, slightly over 300-pound range. He is 5-6 on super matches, so about 500. He pulled Gennady twice, and he's got a match with Kirdagali Angarbayev here, and this was at 105. On blowouts, he's running about 2 to 4. So what is there? 11 super matches, 6 blowouts. So, like I said, arm wrestling is probably so small that over half our matches are, have a score where one side's ending in 0. Moving right along. Okay, Michael Todd's stats. He pretty much opens with a top roll. 47% of the time he uses a top roll. What typically happens is he opens with a top roll, he defends with the King's move, and then when it's time to go on offense, he usually switches to a shoulder roll or a press. Shoulder rolls and presses are very, very similar, so if we combined, the 17% and this 9%, we would probably end up with about a 26% balance here. So 0 hooks. Man does not like to hook. I'm including this picture here just to show how the roughing affects all of us. This was called as a pin vervatale, and I could see on the video it wasn't a pin. This is a close-up. This is the near side of the pin pad. There's the far side of the pin pad. So since we can see the top surface of the pin pad, we are obviously looking down. And even looking down, I can tell this did not hit the pin pad. If your vision moves down to where you're looking even or parallel with the top surface, these hands are going to move up. But hey, roughing affects all of us. I don't think he protested this call. Michael Todd is not bashful about protesting the calls. Here's a new feature. Hey, County Fair, check it out. Look at the pretty graph with the pretty pictures, huh? With the pretty colors. Pretty graph, pretty colors. Here he is with Kirdagali. This is a typical Michael Todd style top roll. It's kind of open. It's very easy for him to transition into his King's move here. He usually telegraphs whether he's starting with a top roll or a shoulder roll in the setup, but his top roll is just, it's more of a lower. I don't think you'd call it posting. You know what? It looks a lot like Devin's top roll, who is also very proficient at the King's move. Okay. He's 21 for 27 on rounds. That basically compares to his 5-6 super match record. His wins: 16 pins, 5 fouls. So his losses are 3 fouls. So he wins on fouls more than he loses on fouls. He does tend to get pinned quite a bit. Not a lot of fouls here. Here is a new feature. I don't know. Y'all tell me if you like this. Of his wins, 8 of his pins are shoulder rolls, 5 are presses, 3 are top rolls. So he doesn't always jump to a press or shoulder roll. He has top rolled 3 times. Of his losses, 12 presses, 3 shoulder rolls, so about 15, like basically inside moves, and he was pinned 5 times with the top roll. I think this would be helpful to you kids, to you viewers. I shudder at the thought of having to go back and rewatch all the videos on the previous stats to add this, but because I love you, I will do that. All right, table side. He He wins about 73% when he has the buckle, and he wins about 83% when he does not. And that's all matches. Um, just in the straps, if he has the buckle, he wins 64% of the time. If he doesn't have the buckle, he wins 138% of the time. So there's a bias there on the strap. But if you take the strap off, he's doing twice as good without the strap on the same side. So this is that whole, is it the buckle or is it the side of the table, right? Because he's 2.5 times better on the far side without the strap, and he's about 2%. He's about 2 times better with the strap. So it's basically the same ratio. So when we get more stats and I get more stuff, we'll really dig into this. I think I know how it ends up, but we will wait. These are some very, very impressive stats here. Ready goes. Wins 47 of them, lost 15. 50 of them were tie. And a tie is usually when you get stalled in center, so you can still be pretty fast. But this 47 to 50 number is very good. So he's counted on being very, very fast. Flash pins. He has 13 flash pins. He's only been flash pinned once. So he's fast and he's powerful. And then that King's move makes him no stranger to long, endurance-riddled matches. This is an example of a Michael Todd shoulder roll. And this is actually, I think this is one of the 2 flash pins he got on Gennady in that match. Flash pinning Gennady's that's a pretty good feat. Hey, County Fair, look, more pretty colors, more pretty graphs. All right, 129 matches. He's averaging 2.7 matches per round. That puts him in this part of the distribution. The 2 people higher than him, Petrenko is at around 2.8. So Petrenko's in here too, in this category. Hermes is up here at 2.9. Devin's here at about 2.7. Vitali is here at 2.4. Way down here, Irakli Shrakashvili, 1.6. And over here in the 2.1 category, Nugo. So Michael Todd does tend to have quite the dialogue going with the rest. A lot of starts, a lot of ready goes in his super matches. All right, we got a few minutes here before we're fully monetized. So if you saw the story on the arm wrestling on the other 2 arm wrestling matches in the books, this is a third one. This is in a book. It's in a story called Counterparts, which is part of a short story collection called, I guess, Dubliners. It's James Joyce is from Ireland. He's actually from Dublin. He lived 1882 to 1941. So he's an early 20th century author. So I guess it would be called Dubliners. And in this story, Counterparts, we meet Farrington. Farrington is a copy clerk at a law office. And in the earliest 20th century, he is a copy clerk by hand, where you actually take your pen and you dip it into the inkwell. Then you have to copy legal documents by hand. No errors, no spelling errors, no punctuation errors. So very tedious job, but not a very physical job. Anyways, Farrington is a bit of a slacker. Actually, he's quite the slacker. So the story opens up. He gets dressed down by his boss for not having his work done. Farrington he responds by sneaking out of the office, going to the bar, and drinking beer. And then he sneaks back into the office, in which he gets yelled at again by his boss. His boss doesn't know he snuck out and he's out drinking, but the boss knows he's not getting his work done. So after work, he decides to go drinking with the boys, as opposed to just sneaking out and going drinking by himself. But he's got no money. I got a feeling Farrington's got a pretty dismal life. So instead of going home to his family, of which it consists of a wife and 5 children, He says, nah, I'm going to pawn my watch and spend all of my watch money drinking with the boys. So, in the course of visiting several bars, he gets into a arm wrestling match with a fellow named Weathers. And I believe this is Weathers here. So, they set up. Their buddy says go. Farrington loses round one. And he says, hey, you can't put your weight into it. Arm wrestle fair. So not only is he a slacker, not only is he drunk, but he's one of those, you can't use your body when you arm wrestle fellas. So they decide to make it Farrington versus Weathers, best 2 of 3. Round 1 was a battle. Round 2 was a battle. Weathers wins again. Farrington loses 0-2. So after that, he goes home. His wife's at church. One of his 5 children, Tom, meets him, offers to make him dinner. Instead, Farrington notices that the fire was out. I'm not exactly sure what the situation was in the early 20th century in Ireland, but evidently you cooked over a fire. So you got this little boy, Tom, offers to cook his drunk daddy dinner. And daddy says he picks up a walking stick and beats the child. So welcome to the Ireland of James Joyce. I much prefer the stories by Ernest Hemingway. Thank you, kids. Call your mom or tell somebody you love them. Do your JM presses. Stick around. We'll have more videos coming up shortly. Thanks, children.